black thing go from left to right, and I thought, I'm going to die out here. No one's ever going to know.
I couldn't believe what my eyeballs were showing me. I'll never forget how evil the eyes were. It was horrible. I mean, I've never seen nothing that evil.
It ran towards me at a rate that I can't even explain. Turned and stared at me, and this look of, I just want to kill you. I want to say it was human, but it wasn't.
He was yelling at me to grab a gun, grab a gun. I was like, for what? He said, just grab a gun. And there's footprints all the way to the door of my house. It had went inside my garage, all the way to the door.
911, what are you reporting?
Jesus Christ, you better...
Sir?
See ya!
Hello?
Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Uh-oh.
You're listening to Sasquatch Chronicles. Check us out online at sasquatchchronicles.com. If you've had an encounter, email me. My email address is wes@sasquatchchronicles.com. Welcome to the show, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. Got a great show planned for you tonight. Going to be bringing Lee on. And Lee had a very interesting encounter back in the 70s with his Boy Scout troop. And they actually saw the creature that night. There were several witnesses that saw the creature. Interesting stuff. That's coming up here in a moment. I have Woody here in studio with me. Woody, how are you tonight?
Doing wonderful, man. Doing wonderful. Thanks again for having me. It's always a pleasure to stop by and say hi. Before we get started, I want to say congratulations, man. You're coming up on your 300th show, man. That's something to be real proud of.
Yeah, I am proud of it. And I couldn't do it without the fans. I couldn't do it without people willing to share their encounters. It's like I always say, the fans and the people that are willing to come forward on the show, they're the ones that really make the show. Believe me, it's nothing that I'm doing. So it's great. I'm excited by it. I'd like to say I'm super excited by it, but it kind of feels like it's just another show. But I want to do something, that's meaningful and important for the fans. And so I'm kind of working on the 300th show. I realize it's Friday, and I know it's coming up Sunday. I hate to break it to everyone. I know everyone thinks I plan like weeks in advance for shows, but they really are kind of a fly, off the seat of my pants type thing. And I know we're going to be doing a Renegade podcast tonight, so that's kind of fun. I know we haven't done one for... There's a guy in the forums.
It's been a few days.
I should look up his name.
Yeah.
He cracked me up. He's like, they haven't done a show. Actually, hang on a second. I'll get it for you. I'm going to
have to say an apology on the air to this guy today.
It just made me laugh. It's in good fun. Here it is. Randall. They haven't had a new episode in nearly a month. Sorry, Randall. We're working on it, buddy.
Ouch.
Yeah.
It's coming.
He's right, though. Yeah. He's right. There hasn't been one in a month. I'm not breaking your balls, Randall. I laughed when I saw that because, this show actually takes up a lot of time. I realize people think I turn on the mic and they listen to it for an hour and think that's it. But there's way more that goes into these shows. And, there's a lot of encounters you don't hear. A lot of people I talk to on the phone that don't want to come on the air, but they're still interesting to talk to. And so anyway, Randall, hopefully we'll get one out tonight for you.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, Randall. It's coming, buddy. We'll give you a shout out on the Renegade podcast.
And I know it really isn't Bigfoot related, but it always makes me kind of wonder a little bit, especially when you hear about the dog man. And wow, I just had deja vu. That's crazy. Especially when you hear about the dog man walking upright. One thing I always say about the dog man is it seems so unnatural. It doesn't seem right for a canine to get up and walk around. But as I've talked to witnesses over the phone and witnesses I've had on the show, even Purple Rose Pam had a dog man encounter. It's interesting when you talk to people because they're very consistent on what they see. And this kind of made me think of this. Did you see this? The woolly mammoth could be de-extinct in 2 years, scientists say.
They were saying that the woolly mammoth, they were going to try to recreate it, or what were they going to do?
Let me play this for you.
What if we had the power to bring back extinct animal species? I'm not talking about dinosaurs, but believe it or not, The notion that we could reintroduce extinct animals to the ecosystem is a real possibility. Right now, that prospect is vigorously being explored. Researchers believe that they can recreate a woolly mammoth by combining its DNA with that of a modern elephant. Of course, the woolly mammoth has been extinct for over 6,000 years. And while some in the scientific community find this to be an exciting prospect, others have voiced concerns over the unforeseen consequences. It's a hot debate right now in conservation biology, and it all seems to boil down to one question. Just because we can do this doesn't mean we should. I was joined earlier by Professor Ross Mcphee. He's a curator in the Department of Mammalogy at the American Museum of Natural History in New York. I started out by asking him to describe the science behind this and what de-extinction actually means.
Well, what it frankly means is bringing back something that is no longer with us. And this can range anything from the level of viruses up to mammals like mammoths. There's several ways in which this could be done. The older kinds of ways, the older technology would be cloning or backbreeding. But the really big thing that's happening right now and just in the last few years is synthetic biology. This is transgenic or genetic engineering, where you're actually building genes from the building blocks and even composing chromosomes and introducing those into the germlines of closely related species so that you end up with something that one way or the other looks a little bit like the extinct species.
And as I understand it, the final product is not exactly one species or another, but a hybrid. How concerned do scientists have to be allowing something into the ecosystem that never really existed in that state before?
It's a very good question, and lots of us are concerned about it in one way or another. I'm concerned about it from an animal welfare point of view. For example, if we were to bring back the woolly mammoth, where are we going to park a herd of woolly mammoths in this country at present? Are they just going to be in a freak show somewhere or in a zoo? This is not really restoring them to the state that they had before we caused their extinction. And you can go down the list of the species that people are thinking about bringing back. In many cases, their ecologies have so changed, the circumstances have so changed, that they wouldn't stand a chance. And to keep them as sort of the equivalent of hothouse plants for our indulgence and for our amusement, I don't think this is a particularly good thing.
Russell, another question to really ponder here is whether this process could be reversible. What happens in the case that the risks really outweigh the benefits? Can you go back?
Well, with extinct species, bringing back extinct species, I don't think it's that much of a big deal because there will never be that much invested in it except perhaps for entertainment value. The real issue with synthetic biology, of which de-extinction is a very small part, is the capacity to create organisms that have never existed, pasting together parts of the genetic code of several different things in order to create something new. Now, that could be good, it could be economically beneficial, it could be a better food crop, that sort of thing, but it could also be dangerous pathogens. And these are things really to worry about from every level, from the scientific up to the ethical.
And of course, you mentioned this, it points to the ethical question. Just because we have the capability of reviving extinct species, which I think most people says sounds really cool, should we do it? What's your take on that?
Well, I'm divided. Of course, it's really cool. I would love to see a woolly mammoth walking down Park Avenue in New York City. But then I have to think in terms of, well, what does that really mean? Is this going to be just a singleton, somebody's experiment? So you've got one woolly mammoth. Who's he going to live with? Where's he going to park himself? Is he going to have to be provided with food and shelter for the rest of his life? Who has the obligation, in fact, to take care of these animals for the rest of their lives? These are harsh questions that really have to attend any thought that we might have about bringing back a mega mammal, a really big animal that needs to be taken care of properly.
And Ross, we only have about 30 seconds left, but one argument I've heard against this process is that, we might be able to bring back something that's actually an excellent vector for diseases, for example, that could, affect livestock or even humans. Has that been the case in the past at all? And is there a good possibility of that happening?
The very first organism that was brought back by modern techniques was the H1N1.